Hello and welcome to Nature Source Care. My name is Dr. Fonda Goldman. I'm a naturopathic physician, and today I was going to talk about homeopathy for analysis paralysis, specifically Bach Flower remedy white chestnut. So let's get into it. Please note first, the information presented here is for educational purposes only and should not be considered medical advice. For any symptoms that persist or worsen, please consult with a qualified medical professional. It's always best to determine the root cause of any disease and to develop a comprehensive treatment plan, of which Bach Flower remedies can be a part. And while homeopathy or Bach Flower remedies can be very effective, they may not be appropriate for everyone or as a single therapy. So please keep that in mind. Okay, so white chestnut Bach Flower remedy. Just a couple words about Bach Flower remedies generally, if you're not familiar with them. Bach Flower remedies are a kind of homeopathy, which is a kind of energy medicine. And if you're interested in more background or history there, I would look at my first Bach Flower remedy video on Walnut. That's out there. But the general concept with these energy medicines is that disease stems from an inner struggle. I've found that they can be very helpful with different sorts of mental, emotional, and even spiritual conditions. And specifically with white chestnut Bach Flower remedy, the keynote that you'd be looking for in yourself or somebody else is overthinking, which, can be caused by many things, but the keynote is overthinking. So the inner state of being that's at work, or a problem here, a cause here, is that a person's unable to choose thoughts. So the thoughts are sort of fluttering through their mind, and they're not really able to choose or decide which thoughts to prioritize or focus on, or see as important, that sort of thing. They're sort of, they feel sort of like a victim. They feel like a victim to their thoughts. The thing, though, is that overthinking, before I get into the Bach Flower remedy, overthinking is such a, in some ways, very vague and generalized phenomenon. And there can be many, many reasons, many medical reasons why somebody's overthinking. So not just, a kind of spiritual path type of overthinking, but, just anxiety, maybe there's situational anxiety, chronic anxiety, stress, feelings of overwhelm, that can cause the mind, to really, overthink, because there's so much to process and which to figure out. Thyroid issues, blood sugar issues, adrenal issues, a lot of hormone issues can actually cause overthinking. PTSD or dissociation. So for somebody who has trauma in the past, they might overthink because it's actually sort of safer to be in their head ruminating about things rather than being in their body and feeling all the, icky, yucky feelings, and feeling it victim to their feelings rather than being a victim to their mind. So it's sort of a, between, a rock and a hard place type of thing. So it's actually sort of a survival mechanism for some people who've had significant trauma. Somebody who's bipolar and going into mania or in mania, they're going to be overthinking and they're not going to be able to control their thoughts. Different sorts of drug use can obviously cause overthinking. Memory issues, so if somebody's struggling to come up with specific data from their memory bank, they might be overthinking, trying to reach for those bits of information. Traumatic brain injury, that can cause problems. Nutrition, faulty nutrition, too much sugar, for example, too many carbs. I've seen a lot of patients, especially during the pandemic, who had diabetes, prediabetes, hypoglycemia, whether classic or reactive, and a lot of these people came into me for anxiety and or insomnia issues, and it actually came down. What needed to be addressed was their sugar levels. So keep that in mind. For some people, it might be they're not really on their right life path, and so they have too much mental energy available because they're not in a life path that's utilizing the mind that they have, the thought process that they have. It's just a mismatch between the sort of brain that they have and the place that they're at. So if somebody's a very thoughtful person, but maybe they're in a menial labor job, not there's anything wrong with that, but if they're a thinker in general and they don't have enough to process, they can kind of, perseverate or almost become like OCD or something like that, because there's not enough mental food for this person to digest, and so they're going to go over and over and over the same stuff, kind of redigest the same stuff that they've been presented with. And there are many others. This is just a short list of some things that can contribute to overthinking. Again, this is just to reiterate that this remedy may not be appropriate in all cases or by itself. It's always important to determine the root cause to figure out what's truly needed in a particular case. But if white chestnut is something to consider for somebody, these are the things to look for. So somebody has a hard time not thinking. They have a hard time just being still. Their mind, it just isn't still. So they have a hard time letting go. So maybe they're thinking about something, or like, some people will be like, I don't really want to think about this. Let me distract myself. I'll go play basketball or something. And then they can just stop their thoughts about that particular issue for a while. These folks, even if they go pick up a basketball, they're going to be thinking about this issue. So it's just they really have, it's not even like they have a hard time letting go of their thoughts. It's almost like their thoughts have a hard time letting go of them. Yeah. So they will often replay day's events. So they'll be reconsidering or defending what they've done or said. It's almost like this shoulda, woulda, coulda is always going on in their head. Well, maybe if I'd said this, or maybe if I'd done this, that sort of thing. They have a hard time relaxing, sleeping. They may even wake up in the middle of sleeping, because they wake up literally thinking with in the middle of the night. So their thoughts run amok and sort of take over the whole self. And again, they may feel trapped by their thoughts or their thinking process. And there's so much mental clutter. There's so much action going on, activity going on in their head. They have a hard time focusing on which thoughts to prioritize and then make decisions from those thoughts. They may even think so much that they have frontal headaches, so headaches like that kind of are in their forehead region or behind their eyes. They may also grind their teeth. That's also a sign that somebody is, again, processing information or events from the day. And again, this I kind of mentioned in the last slide, they may be somebody who's just misemployed or underemployed, where they're just not in the right job, profession, career, activities, or location, or what have you, that whatever their makeup is, whatever their constitution is, it's much better suited for something else. And so it's just their mind, they might just have this sort of mind that's sort of like a Ferrari. They don't have an, and then, but, they're only allowed to drive in the parking lot, that sort of thing. It's that kind of analogy. So you got to consider that. So the risk of not dealing with this issue, perhaps by using white chestnut, is that they're unable to clear their mind to make a decision to move forward. So they're just, like some people say, like hamster on a wheel. And the potential outcome for by taking something, a remedy like this, is that they will gain clarity, they will be able to relax, they will restore their confidence, they will make progress, and perhaps return to their soul's path if that's part of the issue. And answers will become more easily accessible and integrated. So integrated, not just a thought, but a thought that's integrated with the heart. How does the heart feel about it? What does the soul feel about it? What does the spirit feel about it? Make a more integrated decision rather than just trying to sift through data. So that's white chestnut. Other remedies. I've made videos on some of these already, and we're working our way through this whole list here. But there are other Bach Flower remedies that are a chestnut type of remedy. So there's chestnut bud, there's red chestnut, and there's sweet chestnut. So there are 4 chestnut remedies, and so just make sure that you're not confusing white chestnut with the other 3 chestnut remedies in the classical original 38 Bach flowers. But there are other things that can be going on. So sometimes when people are feeling overwhelmed, especially, I made a video on remedies for feeling overwhelmed, and the one particularly that's for being overstimulated mentally. And this is for people who are in study period or finals exam, and they're just hitting the books day in, day out for hours and hours, and they're trying to assimilate all this information. That's more of a hornbeam remedy. That's not really a white chestnut remedy. So again, the key, the trick with these Bach Flower remedies is figuring out which one is appropriate, because it really comes down to nuance. There's also potentially Cerato. I made a video on this. And Cerato is more about not trusting intuition. So if you're not trusting your intuition, you're going to like gather information and try to like, you know, create some sort of like pros and cons list and sort through it analytically. But it's more a matter of, but in that situation, it's not like you cannot stop thinking. It's just that you're not integrating your intuition because you don't trust it. So again, that's a nuance. And then I did also make a video on wild oat, which is a remedy for finding your true life path. And wild oat is more for people who are zigzagging their career or work life, because they're really meant to do something independent or creative or innovative. They're not really meant for a traditional career. And so they might be trying to, you know, have a traditional career, and it's just not working out for them. And so, you know, they might be like, well, I'm over here, and now I'm over there, and now I'm over this place, and they can't quite figure it out, because it's really about creating their own path for their career, which again is a different thing than white chestnut, which is again, you can't stop thinking. Yeah. So there's some other ideas for you for somebody who's struggling a bit mentally to figure things out. So that's it. Short and sweet today. But you know, again, hopefully this video has been helpful. So you learn more about Bach Flower remedies, specifically white chestnut, how it can be helpful, and so you have another tool in your tool bag for situations like this. But you know, I think before even considering white chestnut, figuring out what's causing, because there are potentially a lot of medical reasons why somebody could be overthinking. That's important to sort through all that. But at the end, hopefully we're all working towards finding a way to help people be more integrated and selective in their thought process, so they make good decisions in their life, so that they're happier. That's the ultimate goal, I think. So anyway, thank you for your time listening today, as always, and until next one, take care.